I have the privilege of working for an organisation called Landscapes NI. Landscapes NI is a network of all of our iconic and designated and protected landscapes in Northern Ireland. And my goodness, do we have some iconic and amazing landscapes. And just being here this morning and looking out over Lough Erne, one of our most amazing landscapes that we have. I took on this role in January of this year, so it's a fairly new role. And one of the things I did was I travelled around all of our member organisations, of which LELP is one of the member organisations. And while I've lived here all my life and I've been involved in outdoor recreation and outdoor sports for over 30 years, using our landscapes, it really struck me just what we have in this small part of the world in very short distance from each other. So you can travel very quickly from one landscape to the next and see these amazing places that are rich in wildlife, potentially, not always, but that are connected to the communities. And we have that real sense of place that we were hearing about this morning. We're going to hear a bit more now from some of our keynote speakers. They're going to do 10 minutes each, just on how they've inspired communities, what some of the science is telling us, and how we connect people to our amazing water environments. Water is life. And this is something, we were just talking about this with one of my colleagues from Waterways Ireland. It is key to our existence. Anywhere on planet Earth where there is water, there is life. And that is something that connects us as humans back to our water environments really strongly. So we're going to hear from Elmarie now, from Lough Erne Landscape Partnership, in terms of what they've been doing to connect communities back to their water heritage. Elmarie, over to you.
Thanks, Mike. Good morning, everybody. I have a bit of a cold / something happening here, so if I take a coughing fit, anybody just stand up and continue, please. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Elmarie Swanepoel. I'm the program manager for the Lough Erne Landscape Partnership. I was very pleased to be asked to talk a bit of the approach that we've taken in terms of engaging the Lough Erne community. Now, I got to say, firstly, hearing from these folks earlier on, I think that you all get a sense that people here, like Mike says, really connected already. So I've never really understood why people think it's so difficult to engage people, because for us it was really easy, okay? So we had to think really hard when people said to us, so what is your approach and what do you do and how do you do it, because actually we think that what we do isn't really that special. So I'll give you, hang on. Is it going? It's not going? There we go. Panic over. Okay. So Joanne, as very well outlined, and Richard also gave you a bit of a sense of the Landscape Partnership. So seeing as I've only got 10 minutes, I better get on with it. So I'm not going to give you too much of the detail in terms of the background. When you go downstairs for lunch today, there's a wee table in the restaurant. It has a booklet in it called the LELP Outcomes and Impacts booklet. And there's loads of information in there, folks. So take one of those with you. But essentially, LELP was set up, and it is all about trying to get people to recognize this unique place, getting people to kind of love this place, getting people to recognize the unique landscape, the unique place, the unique people, the unique cultures. So our job has just been to really focus on connecting and engaging. So Joanne also mentioned there in terms of objectives, like I said, all about community, all about people. It's about engaging people in their place, in their environment. It's about thinking about access. How do we give people access to this environment, etc. And to really give people opportunities to also learn from each other, learn about the place, etc. So Joanne mentioned this. So the Landscape Partnership is set up in a really great way, actually. We've got statutory partners, we've got third sector partners, we've got voluntary partners, and one of our biggest partners is the community, okay? So I think the sort of setup in itself lends itself to to kind of great partnership working. And then, of course, being led by the RSPB and I, giving us a real vision and freedom to kind of do things in this region. So firstly, on that map, you'll see Lough Erne, you'll see lots of dots. So when we started off in 2018, we were commissioned to deliver 23 projects, and they kind of on the yellow and blue dots on that map. And as you can see, they were quite well spread out throughout the area. And then we launched our Community Engagement and Farming Fund, which is essentially a small grant scheme. And then we commissioned a further 21 kind of smaller community-led programs. And as you can see on that map, really, it literally just, we have tried really hard to make sure that we reach every community. Okay, so in terms of our criteria, we have thought very hard to make sure that we don't exclude people via geography, via background, and things like that. Okay, so a map like that don't just happen. We really had to try and work hard to kind of get people from all areas. So essentially, folks, what have we achieved? I can talk to you for weeks about what LELP has achieved. I can give you facts and figures, hundreds of them, but I'm not going to do that because it is all in the booklet, so I would encourage you to pick one up and take it. So I've been asked to talk to you a bit about engagement, okay? So in terms of the outputs for us for engagement, I'll just give you some of the figures, because when we started to kind of put these things together, because we've been so busy to just, deliver, when we actually took some time last year to just put some facts and figures together, we were really shocked, actually, just at the scale of everything that has been achieved. So these figures that you see on the screen now, this is from, I think, September last year. So loads have happened since again, okay? But just to kind of give you a bit of a sense of that. Through these 44 projects, we have tried really hard to get people to connect. And we say to people, what partnerships have you built? Who have you worked with? And we try to say to people, of course you can do it on your own, but it's better if you do it with somebody else. So we have tried to kind of get people to look outside of their door. So over 120 formal and informal partnerships have kind of started in this region, just between people starting to kind of talk about different things. There's over 1,600 volunteers, which is registered, working throughout these 44 projects. And, staggering amounts of volunteer hours, massive. At that count, it was over 42,000. The other thing that we've really focused on is to do events, okay? So we've done over 300 events. And when I say events, people think of this, okay? But for us, a lot of events is actually going out to a community hall on a dark winter's night with 5 people sitting around a table, coming up with ideas of things to do within their landscape, okay? So when you think about events, you've got to think really wide and differently about what is an event. And for us, it's just opportunities to kind of bring people all into the same space. You would see there that we've been very privileged through the funding with the National Lottery Heritage Fund that we have been able to provide people with free opportunities to engage them in the landscape. Now, these things are great because even 6 years later, we now know that we have done, thousands of people, folks, have gone out on the loch. Hundreds of people have gone out on walks and things like that. But I'm astounded even now, 6 years later, that still today, people will go out on the loch and they go, I've lived here all my life and I've never been on the water, So I think the Landscape Partnership has been amazing at kind of giving people the opportunity, but it just shows you that even with all of the work, there's still so much opportunity and we should never stop, because actually engagement is not a start and a finish. It's an ongoing kind of conversation. So whether you've got programs like LELP that run for a period of time, the conversation can never be time-bound. Okay, and we focus loads on education as well. And when I say education, I'm talking not just about school children, it's about everybody, okay? Starting with the grannies and grandads, all the way to the youngest children in nursery. Everybody wants to learn, and everybody has to learn. And that's how you kind of create that sort of shift change. So just bear with me. Let's grab a bit of water here, folks. Running a bit dry. Richard, no. I didn't think you were going to bring the Kaylee into this. But yes, folks, in Northern Ireland, we like UKILN. So, but it's not from that, Richard, it's the cold. Okay. So the outcomes and the impacts then, like I said, I'm not going to go on too much about it. So we did a big consultation last year, and we went out to our community partners and to the community, and we said, what has Lough meant to you? What has it achieved? So these things, folks, is not what I've dreamt up. This is what the community has come back to us. This is what they've said that a program like this has meant to them. And it's been really, really profound. Some of these things we hoped for and we expected because that was kind of in the makeup of the program. Lots of it was really just unexpected. So things like improving people's health and well-being, you know, self-explanatory. Get people in nature, get them out. Their health and well-being will improve. Increased community capacity, and that's what I said. It is really important to work with people. You know, everybody wants to learn, everybody can get better. If we work together, build new partnerships, everybody learns and the whole system kind of grows. One of the things on that list that really surprised us was the feedback that people gave to say that this program created peace-building outcomes. Now, this is not something that we were set up to do. It's not something that we, you know, really wanted to do. But what people have said is that just by creating an opportunity for conversation, people feel like they've become closer to neighbors that they might not necessarily have previously known. So I think some of those things are fantastic in terms of these type of programs. We've been very lucky also that this program has created economic growth, you know, new jobs, small businesses, new opportunities, and those sort of things just continue to grow. So, like Joanne said, we've been very privileged. People have been recognized. Our partners, for example, Claire and her team, lots of our partners have been recognized for the individual projects that they've done. And we've been very pleased as well that our team has been recognized and the projects that we've done have been recognized, okay? So, to get to the crux of it, people say, so how have you done it? So for me, I think it's three things, okay? I think you need to think about your governance. You need to think about how your programs and your structures are set up right from the start, because when you want to engage, you've got to set it up right to enable people to do it, and you've got to think about the team that surrounds this. So, very quickly. So this is my sort of recipe for good engagement. Now, bearing in mind, folks, this is my recipe. And everybody's granny has got a different recipe. But this is what we felt has worked for us, okay? It might not work for everyone. But for us, we think, in terms of governance, you really have to be flexible. From the board, to the funders, to the team, to the people that you work with, you've got to recognize that change is there, and you just got to go with it, okay? You have to trust your team. Now, I'm easily trusted, naturally. Not. So what I would say is, if you employ a team of people to do something, trust them to go out there. Don't overpower them. Give them the opportunity to be in the community and work with local people, not with organizational policy. And I think you will see a bit of a shift change. Really, limiting red tape, working with the community. We try as much as we can to make it easy for people. And I know that everybody talks about that, but it's really important to kind of take away some of the burdens for people. But equally important, good governance has to be had. The whole board and the whole team has to welcome change, folks. Because if you're running a 6-year program like we did, for example, it's never going to end up the way it started. It's impossible. Why? Because people change, and if people change, change happens. And you should embrace it, and you should just absolutely go with that. And we've been very lucky to work with the National Lottery Heritage Fund because they've been so flexible in terms of, you know, helping us work with the community as well. In terms of your program, in terms of the structure, so there is something about developing flexible projects. Okay, we all want to set this thing up and know what we're doing and, you know, do specific things, but you have to build flexibility from the start into your ideas. Sometimes for me, a project starts with a conversation, and we sometimes don't know where it's going to end either, okay? We just kind of go with it and see what happens, and sometimes that's really where the magic happens. Open outputs, like I said, try and be adaptable. Try and enable in your project to give people the opportunity to engage as widely as what they want. And that wider engagement gives you lots of change, so you just got to go with it. Budget, folks, you got to have people on the ground to engage. Engagement takes time. You know, it's not always good to just plonk it onto the bottom of somebody's job description and say, well, you know, you've got to go and engage while you do your job. Engagement is a very special thing. You need people with special tasks to kind of do that. Okay, lastly, the team. So for us, you know, we came to deliver a heritage project. None of my team are heritage specialists, and we kind of built it in that way. Not deliberately, but it kind of happened in that way. Now, the reason that we've done that is that I truly believe that if people don't know a subject matter inside and out, they are more receptive to listen, they're more receptive to learn, and they're more receptive to build partnership because they have to go and work with other people, okay? So again, I think that's important. We never say no, and people are always shocked at that. Oh, how can you never say no? We never say no. If we can't help somebody, we will try and find somebody who can. You know, I think it's that signposting. It's really trying to help people kind of get on and not just say, well, sorry, that's not in my objective. Sorry, that's not in my job. You have to create time for people. You have to create mental space for people to just sit down, have a cup of tea, talk to people, you know. You have to build that time into it. That's really important. Get people that is passionate, because if they're passionate about their job and where they live, they will inspire other people, and then they will become passionate, and yet again, the magic happens. Thinking about empowering people. So you have to start empowering your own staff. Thanks very much. You have to empower your own staff. You have to empower the people that you work with. And it's all about learning, folks. So I'll leave you with my last quote. And this is the sort of philosophy that we work towards. You cannot be a great institution. You cannot do great learning. And you cannot do great teaching unless you are part of a very, very local place. Okay, so think about where you are, work with local people, and achieve amazing change. So that is me. Thank you.